always enjoy this man's visit here on the program. He was kind enough to send me an advanced copy of his forthcoming memoir, Reborn in the USA, An Englishman's Love Letter to His Chosen Home. I'm wondering if there might now be some sort of an addendum with the Super League being announced. Roger Bennett of Men in Blazers here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Roger?
Oh, Rich Eisen, hold me. It's a dark and terrible day.
I wish I could know that you're totally joking, Roger, but I know... can you please describe for this audience that may need some sort of perspective on what the hell has just happened and why it has left so many people so despondent? Roger.
I will do my best. It's been a harrowing, historic, seismic 24 hours for global football. Yesterday, winners of 12 of the biggest teams in Europe announced they were going to sign up for a breakaway Super League funded by JP Morgan. What it means is 6 of the biggest clubs from England, your Manchester United, your Liverpools, your Chelseas, 3 each from Italy and Spain, possibly a couple of more still to be announced, will form their own annual closed competition. From an American perspective, it's a bit like your Dukes, your North Carolinas, your Kansases being annoyed they failed to qualify for March Madness and just announcing they were going to have a breakaway March Madness of their own in which they were guaranteed participation every single year. And what it does, it's just destroying everything that currently exists, which could possibly include the Premier League. And it's an enormous decision point for global football. I should say, Rich, forced in large part by American owners, along with their oligarch and sheikh counterparts. It's a bit like, if you remember that old television show V, where we welcomed in the aliens to own our football teams and then were shocked and horrified when they turned around and started to eat English people.
I do remember that. And so V would be the American owners. They would be the
Cronkies. Your Cronky, you love your Stan Cronkies, you love your Glazers. You know, the Spanish teams, Barcelona, Real Madrid, their league is kind of melting down in a pandemic, so their self-interest in doing this is very clear. The Italian league has been fading for a while, so their teams, their big teams, it makes sense for them to want to jump in. But Liverpool, Manchester United, and Arsenal, who are owned by American sporting entrepreneurs, when you speak to them before this occurred, they were always shocked at how anarchical English sport is compared to American sport. Your NFL, you know, the teams play every year, there's a draft, there's a salary cap, a rev share, it's all deeply controlled. The thing they loved about European competition is that for every dollar of every shirt they sold, they didn't have to share that with the other teams. They could keep all of it. But they were also freaked out by the uncertainty. You know, 4 teams from England every year qualify for the Champions League. If you have a hiccup in a season and miss that, your bottom line is totally devastated. So what they're looking for is, now their teams have brand prestige, now their teams are global billboards, they're looking for certainty, they're looking for control, and they're looking for profits, and they're looking to turn European football into what the NFL is, which is a closed competition with real certainty, even if it means that the other teams all across Europe are ultimately financially kneecapped.
Well, the UEFA president said today that the Juventus chairman told him on Saturday there was nothing to this, it was just rumors, and then turned his phone off on him, called the executive vice chairman Ed Woodward of Manchester United a snake, saying that he told him last Thursday that he agreed to all the changes that were coming for UEFA and that all was cool, and then said that nobody that participates in this as a player could participate in the World Cup. How does that work? Is that possible? And what
we're really seeing is football eating itself. There is the reaction has been instant and immediate. There's a Champions League is the biggest tournament in Europe. 3 of the breakaway teams are in the semi-finals, which are imminent, and UEFA are threatening to expel them from this year's competition immediately. The British government are stepping in to intercede. You know, the Premier League is one of the last vestiges of English greatness. I think we have the royal family not doing so well, Rich, you may have noticed. Downton Abbey not coming back anytime soon. We have the embers of the tweed industry, of which I'm one of the sole last great fans. And we have the English Premier League. So none of these are in great shape right now. It's a massive financial powerhouse for Britain, the Premier League. The government are stepping in. The media backlash is tremendous. And what's fascinating, maybe from an American perspective, is the fan backlash has been instant and just absolutely, I mean, there's been a meltdown. And American fans are fine with being treated badly by their owners. I'm always shocked still. You know, when Kroenke moves the St. Louis Rams to LA, you're all like, yeah, that's sport. It's a business. That's how it works. But the one group, the Super League team owners, when they're in their boardrooms in Boston, Tampa, Abu Dhabi, or wherever it is, the oligarchs keep their super yachts. The one group they've not thought about as absentee landlords is the local fan base. And the reaction has been instant and enormous. You know, Liverpool fans put a black banner outside the stadium this morning saying, "Rest in peace, Liverpool, 1892 to 2021. And take it from me, Rich, I know this from experience. I grew up in that fine city. And pissing off hundreds of thousands of Liverpudlians, it rarely ends well. I mean, you only have to look at Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels to see what we have in store. It really is a hello darkness, my old friend Sitchin.
Roger Bennett, co-host along with Michael Davies of Men in Blazers here on the Rich Eisen Show. So what is the aftermath? Because, you know, short of putting this into VAR and hope for a crazy result, which might be not be a bad idea, because anything that goes in there usually comes up with the unexpected. So what is the result here? Do you really think that, you know, Liverpool joins this Super League and money starts flowing in, but fans won't go? Do you really think that fans would not go or care anymore?
It's one of the great seismic kind of tectonic plates in global football is that there is the English fans, generationally, the teams are storehouses of memory, Rich, and they've travelled with their teams every weekend across England. They've travelled across Europe cheering for their teams. But in modern football, moneyed football, you know, the teams care less and less for those local season ticket holders and more for the global fan base, you know, in Africa, across Asia. And now there's an incredible gold rush for the hearts and minds of the American fan. And that's always been the tension. Who are the teams really playing to? Are the fans now just a backdrop, kind of like extras in a movie? To engage the global fan base. And this is, ultimately, they are making a bet that the global fan base is more the future than the local fan base. There is a chance this could all be a bluff, a power play to force the organising body in Europe to shape their competitions to provide more money to the bigger teams. I don't think it is. The owners I've spoken to over the past 24 hours have told me they are serious about going forward with this contest, and this is going to play out in the next week incredibly fast, incredibly brutally at every level. Government, the football bureaucracy, the media, the social media. It'll be nothing less than a sporting civil war. And the question is, will fans, you know, we watch football for the breathtaking poetry of a Kevin De Bruyne assist or a Rose Lavelle dribble or a lung-busting Seamus Coleman run up and down the wing. We watch for emotion. And the moment this league kicks off, will fans watch it? That's ultimately the question that the team owners are betting, that the answer is yes. And if boxing fans pay money to watch Jake Paul fight a patsy, you kind of feel sports fans will watch anything, and that's the bet that they're making.
Well, I guess so, but, you know, these are some of the best teams with the best players, and, of course, just, you know, and a Team USA could get Christian Pulisic at a World Cup, you know, fresh off of his dynamic runs at Chelsea, to be just like everybody now now he doesn't play because is that possible? Is that feasible?
It's all about leveraging for position. Ultimately, the big clubs are betting that the leagues need them, that the World Cup needs them more than they need the leagues and more than FIFA need. Like a World Cup without the great players is what? That's really the bet that they're making. And ultimately, you know, we don't want to see how the sausage is made. Football is really the world's emotional joy. This is the darkness of what's happening. The team owners are using the pandemic as an excuse for why they need to do it now, just for financial safety. And the pandemic, never more than in this moment, has football as a game brought such joy. It's bound the world together. When we watch these games, we feel a sense of connection. We feel a sense of emotion. We feel alive. And football, the game, has really saved us. But the football industry, in this moment, you realize the business can do the opposite. The myopia, the greed, the selfishness, the self-interest. And that's the true darkness. It's going to be ultimately the fans and the core of public opinion in England, I believe, will fight this one out. There's a tremendous anger there at how they've been kind of treated as powerless, and many fans. It's a bit like what they felt, a bit like watching Khaleesi and her dragons burn down King's Landing, and how they react now cruelly exposed. The English fan will not want to just be an innocent victim in all of this. There's so much on the line for them in terms of their love, their memories, the profound connection that they have with the game. And ultimately, it's going to be won or lost in England rather than in the rest of the world. So starting this afternoon when Liverpool play Leeds, watching the fans' reaction is going to be ultimately definitive.
So then, before I let you go, Roger Bennett, co-host with Michael Davies of the Men in Blazers, here on the Rich Eisen Show. So are there owners of, I guess, Paris Saint-Germain and owners of, I guess, in Germany feeling the pressure, who already said, yeah, but let's see how that trial balloon goes. You take the first step, and then there's 5 other spots of qualifiers. Where do they think that's coming from? From whatever's left of the embers of all the leagues that they're lopping the best teams off of? Like, seriously, like they think they're going to have a relationship with them? Is that the sense?
It's going to be the New York Cosmos. We'll put them down for one. I'm not sure.
Giorgio Chinaglia? Is that what you're saying? Shep Messing? We're going to see him in the net? I mean, my gosh. I'm going way back.
Breaking news, Rich Eisen. I don't think that part has been particularly well thought through. I think that's meant to be a carrot for other teams. What is fascinating, you mentioned the German teams. German football clubs run off a very different model to the rest of the world. They are predominantly fan-owned. And so the big teams there, Bayern and Dortmund, who were both invited to join, have both put out statements saying that they will refrain, and in fact it's everything the European Super League that they don't believe in. And that's the battle right now. It is for the hearts and minds of what football is truly about. And I have to believe your Cronkies and your Glazers, they've shown with Arsenal, they've shown with Manchester United, they genuinely could not care less for what the fan base think and feel. I think ultimately the battlefield is going to be Liverpool Football Club, which is, they are currently the champions. They are owned by Fenway Sports Group. John Henry has been incredibly sensitive to public opinion in the past. A couple of times they've tried to float the notion of radical change in football. The fan base has risen up and they've had a U-turn in terms of what they were planning. That Liverpool team, I'm from Liverpool, happen to support the other team, like the Mets to the Yankees, Everton Football Club, that's full disclosure. But Liverpool, it's a singular team. Liverpool is a passionate town. It's a working class town. That football team has been a totem of the city for decades. It's represented it out there in Europe. The gentleman who really founded the club, Bill Shankly, a Scottish trade unionist, he talked with great passion about how Liverpool was always going to be a working man's club. You walk through the Shankly gates when you walk to a match at Anfield. Those fans, it's a deeply committed, it's deeply passionate. And just watching the backlash that's been instant towards the Boston Red Sox owners of Liverpool, that's the team to watch. If they stand up and just force this through and lose that fan base, it's an incredibly delicate dance that they're trying to do right now, and I believe that one ultimately will determine the fate of the future of European football.
Well, Roger, I know you brought it up before, and I know this is not a consolation at all, and I don't say this other than just to try and set the facts straight. This is not meant to, in any other way to say that, but maybe lost amongst this Super League announcement, certainly for you, was that Downton Abbey 2 has been set for Christmas. The whole cast is coming back, so there is that later on this fall.
To have Mrs. Patmore back in my life, Rich, it's a tiny crumb of solace. But I want to say it is a dark time. It is a chaotic time. Football does give us such joy, as sports has in lockdown. And to see the sport that we love almost eat itself over the past 24 hours, personally, not professionally. Professionally, yes. I'm still very objective. But personally, it's been bloody harrowing, Rich, so it's great to speak to you.
Right back at you, Roger. Again, Reborn in the USA, An Englishman's Love Letter to His Chosen Home, a forthcoming memoir. Go check it out where you can maybe buy it prior to its coming out. When it comes out, I can't wait to see the appendix or whatever it is, and when you're whatever you might add to it or whatever you might do from here on out, Roger. I'm always tuned into what you and Michael are up to.
Godspeed, Rich Eisen, and God bless America.
Right
Courage.
back at you. There you go, Roger Bennett, everybody.
Thanks, Raj.
Follow him on Twitter at Raj Bennett. My gosh. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.